U.S. Open in a moment. But we begin today with the sad news of the passing of Jerry West at age 86. West spent his entire career in basketball as a player, a coach, and a general manager. It's a career that spans 65 years and is unprecedented in the game. Wilbon, what are your reflections on the man and his career?
Tony, I don't even know where to start. I learned of this story, of Jerry's passing this morning on a flight down here to Dallas to cover the finals. It has just been a sort of depressing day for me. I feel very fortunate in that I got to be around Jerry West for years. And I know that you did too. Some of those years overlap, but you got there before me. And as you know, there was nothing quite like the privilege of being able to be around Jerry West, to listen to him. You know, he's a brilliant, profane, compassionate, insightful, generous man who told his story in his autobiography, which I would recommend that anybody read. It was not an easy road for him as a young man, and then he became this enormous star in the NBA. And Tony, you know, I'm thinking about lately the passing of Jim Brown and Jerry West, and I got to know them both. And I was in awe of them as a grown man. And the first time I met Jerry West, I was in my mid-20s maybe, met him for real, where it's just a one-on-one situation at a game somewhere. And I called him Mr. West. And he just looked at me and said, "Son, don't ever do that again. Don't ever call me that again." And after that, it was just so cool. Let me tell you one quick story. That Jerry West, one of my first games as a kid, my father took me to the old Chicago Stadium, maybe the amphitheater, to see Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, and Elgin Baylor. And as you know, you were there as an older kid. Baylor got hurt. He hurt his knee. He couldn't go on that great run, 33 games in a row. And Jerry West went to his house. He went to Baylor's house to say, "No, you can't retire. You can't go away now. We're going to beat the Celtics, Elgin. We're going to beat them this year. You, me, Wilt, Gail Goodrich, we got this." And Baylor said, "I can't," because this was before medical technology, modern medicine. And he couldn't do it. And they sat there and they cried. And they wanted to do this. West wanted to convince him, and he couldn't. As you know, Baylor wasn't on that team. And they did win. They beat the Knicks, not the Celtics. Yeah. And I think about those stories, and I'm going on too long here because you need some time to talk about this. But Jerry, it just depresses me now that Jerry West is gone.
So I think that Jerry West has had the most complete career in the history of basketball. He started out as an All-American at West Virginia when he was Zeke from Cabin Creek. He was on an Olympic gold medalist team. He goes to the Lakers, where he's one of the greatest players of all time. He wins a championship. He becomes a coach and realizes that Pat Riley could probably be a better coach than him. So Pat Riley becomes a coach, and he becomes a general manager, where he builds champions, where he has an unbelievable, uncanny eye for talent and gets Kobe Bryant and he gets Shaquille O'Neal, and he does this at other teams as well. Mike, in the last couple of days, you and I have talked about Danny Hurley not going to the Lakers and whether the Lakers should be embarrassed at not being great anymore. When Jerry West was with the Lakers, they were great every single day. Those were the glory days of the Los Angeles Lakers. Those. And I mean, I'm not gonna pretend that I knew him well, but he's the logo. What more do you want? His silhouette is the NBA. Jerry West. I was around Jerry West here and there. If you wrote about basketball, you were around Jerry West here or there. And the greatest thing about Jerry West, as you know, is he liked to talk. You could go to the grill room or the card room at Bel Air Country Club any day, and you could find Jerry West, and you could talk to him. And, Mike, it was a master class in basketball. I think he has had the longest and greatest career in any sport, Mike. Agreed. I believe that. I do.
Tony, he was such a great player, and people now don't know that. They don't know how great he was as a player. He averaged like 44 points with no three-point line in a playoff series. He was so great as a player, then so great as an executive, and just the greatest ambassador. You know, I mean, the Memphis' greatest run was with Jerry West. The Clippers' best run was with Jerry West as a consultant.
You don't call Jerry West, it was magic. Mr. Clutch. You don't call somebody Mr. Clutch if he doesn't make key baskets. And he's got one of the three or four most famous shots ever
And by the way,
against the Knicks.
to end this, Tony, I've gotten to know Jerry's son, Johnny West, and his daughter-in-law, Michelle Wee. And my sympathies and thoughts go out to them. They are around the game. You can see them both at Golden State, at Lakers games. And it's so cool to see them and Jerry with them. Jerry wasn't a recluse. You could see Jerry anytime you walked into a Laker game. It was it was a privilege and an honor.
All right, let's move. Let's move to tonight's Game 3 of the NBA Finals in Dallas. The Mavericks are down 0-2 and facing what feels like a must game. They've gotten almost nothing from Kyrie Irving so far, but many people believe that stars and role players play better at home. Wilbon, you are in Dallas. What are the chances the Mavericks win tonight?
Tony, I think the chances may be, I don't know, it's better. I'm going to give them better than 50-50 because I believe the Mavericks are going to win the game. They have to win the game or the series is done. Yeah. And it may go back to Boston in 5, but it's over. And so this is a championship series. Luka and Kyrie, with Jason Kidd leading the way and their top executive, Nico Harrison, they've done a great job at putting this team in position. And I can't see them letting that all unravel here in Dallas. And so I believe they'll figure out a way to win. A lot of this is on Jason Kidd. He's got to help Kyrie be freed up from suffocating Boston defense we saw in the first 2 games. I believe they'll figure that out. And Luka is limping around and holding his ribs and he's hurting. I get it. But I think they will cobble together the effort. Yeah. And I need to see Tim Hardaway Jr. I need to see Tim Hardaway Jr. not be a DNP on the court, make some shots. I believe the Mavericks will win tonight.
Yeah, my inclination is to say that the Mavericks will win tonight. My inclination is to say that Kyrie Irving will finally have a good game, and my inclination is to say that Doncic will have a great game. I'm not going to be surprised if he goes over 40. I'm not going to be surprised if he gets all the way 50. I'm really not. Because as you know, if Boston wins this game, it's over. If you're Boston, you think to yourself, we only have to win 1 in Dallas, and we come back to Boston at 3-1, and we win the series. And so you don't have to win tonight. And if Porzingis doesn't play, I think that helps Dallas. But before I tell you I write off Boston for tonight, as I did in Game 2 mistakenly, I think we have to discuss how they do on the road. Here's how they do on the road. They never lose on the road. They're 6-0 in these playoffs so far, and over the last 3 seasons, Mike, on the road, they're 20-7. 20-7 on the road. And that is Michael Jordan land. That is Michael Jordan land.
Yeah. Tony,
it is.
If they come in here and manhandle them tonight, then we're talking about greatness in the Celtics. Greatness.
Yeah.
So Dallas knows what it's up against, I believe. The United States Open tees off tomorrow morning. Scottie Scheffler's ranked number 1 in the world, having 5 wins and 2 runners-up in his last 8 tournaments. It's a Tiger-like run, at least a Tiger-like run. So let's ask a Tiger-like question, Tone. Are you taking Scottie Scheffler or the field at Pinehurst?
Okay, I would really have to be crazy not to take the field. There's 155 other players in the Open. This is not like the Belmont with Secretariat running against 6 or 7 horses. 155 other people. So I wouldn't even take Tiger against the field. And Scottie Scheffler is the closest thing to Tiger we've seen in a long time. He has now won 5 out of 8 tournaments, which is what Tiger did. And they are great tournaments, Mike. It's the Masters, it's the Players, it's the Arnold Palmer, it's Jack Nicklaus, and it's Hilton Head. His competition is thinned out a little bit because John Rahm, is not going to be playing in this thing. He's going to be, Wyndham Clark has already complained about the speed of the greens. People need to understand these are not greens at their local place. These are mounded greens. They're, the ball falls off. It doesn't stay on the top. And one of the advantages Scheffler has is his second shot, the ball flight is so high, maybe it lands soft, maybe it sticks and it doesn't roll off. He's going out the first 2 days with Schauffele and Rory. He could maybe demoralize them, or Mike, you know what? They could maybe demoralize him. But I'm not going to be surprised if he wins. Not surprised.
I won't be surprised, Tony, but I'm going to mention a couple of people here because we're talking about, I'm looking for the guys who can drive it not as far, but straight. And I realize it's 7,500 yards and only a par 70. I realize how long the golf course is, but you still got to drive it straight and then be a great iron player and have the component of being a scrambler. Can you putt it, chip it well from right off those greens that you talk about, balls rolling off? And so I'm looking at Morikawa again, and Colin played great last week, even though he lost to Scheffler. I'm looking at Schauffele. I'm looking at Max Homa. How about Denny McCarthy, who's local for us, who people may not think about, Tony? But again, when it comes to scrambling, which seems to me is going to be really important, the big hitters who may spray it and think they can play the golf course that way, from all indications, we talked to Andy North yesterday, that ain't going to work. So it's like, okay, who can thread this needle in addition to the world's number one and perhaps challenge him and win? So I just mentioned a couple of names. You know I'm taking Morikawa, as I always do.
Yeah, you always pick Morikawa. You pick Morikawa for every golf tournament that we ever talk about.
And he's right in it. He's right there. He's in it more than not.
He would tell you to stop already. He'd say, Mike, rest.
He probably would.
Let's take a break. Coming up, is the Celtics defense this good or is the Mavs offense this bad? We will ask Kendrick Perkins.
Tony's going to ask him about the adjustments he expects out of Jason Kidd. I'm going to go over quickly the Cowboys minicamp. Ask Dak about getting his money. It's irresistible. I got to do it.
No, do
Stephen
that.
A.
Say hi to Jerry for me.
I'll say hello to Jerry.
Say hi to Jerry.
You know.
We are giving Wilbon this segment off, and let's get back into tonight's Game 3 in Dallas with a man who's down there for it, our great friend from NBA Today, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. Perk, let's start with this. No one seems to know what to make of the Porzingis injury announcement. It was like 10,000 words, and nobody understood it. What do you make of that announcement?
Well, look, first of all, when I read those 10,000 words, I got dizzy, okay? And here's the thing. When it comes down to Kristaps Porzingis, he's the most important player in this series. And he's gonna be the reason and the deciding factor whether or not the Celtics win this championship and hang banner number 18. We know what he brings offensively, for us being 7'3", being able to stretch the floor, give Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown room to operate, right? Because he spaces so well. His mismatches, right? When he create the mismatch and going to the post, he's one of the best post-up guys in the league. He was the best post-up guy in the regular season. Then you take it to the defensive side of things. This is where his effect come in the most. When he's in the game, the Celtics perimeter players they're able to press up and get more physical because of the presence that he brings. And looking at these numbers, Tony, with Kristaps Porzingis on the floor, they're plus 25. Without him on the floor, they're even. So, I mean, it matters if he's healthy or not and if he's going to be available.
Now, let's move on because we both watched the first two games of this series, and everybody talks about the Celtics defense, how it's like something Dallas has never seen. Do you think the Celtics defense is that good or that Dallas's offense is that bad?
It's Dallas offense. Look, and a lot of blame has to go on Jay Kidd, but look, they have to make shots. Derrick Jones Jr., P.J. Washington, they got to knock down three-point shots. They're wide open. The Celtics are basically playing them like a Russell Westbrook or Draymond Green. And then when you look at their bench, I love what Dante Exum brings to the game. I understand he pushes the pace. I understand he brings a certain type of tenacity and edge. But last game, they only had 7 points off the bench. And I'm wondering why Tim Hardaway Jr. and Hardy are in the doghouse. But that's something they got to figure out. But look, they're at home. Role players play better at home. I expect Dallas to make shots, and I expect Kyrie Irving to get it going. He will get it going. I don't see Kyrie Irving having 3 bad games in a row, and he's getting some good looks.
Let's go to Kyrie Irving specifically, because he shot terribly, and he's had open shots. And I don't think he's made a 3 in the first 2 games. We have seen him play infinitely better than this, but not in the last 2 games. Why do you think he's going to be better tonight?
Because he's Kyrie Irving. He's the most skilled player in my eyes that has ever touched the damn basketball, right? And now he's at home. He don't have to deal with the fan base of Boston, and I do think that played a part in it, right? Now he could be the best version of himself. He feel comfortable in this arena. The fans are going to be behind him. And sometimes even your leader, Tony, and your franchise guy, they need support. They need a key in their back. So Kyrie will play better tonight. And the matter Cavs will win Game 3.
Okay, you're convinced of that they're going to win Game 3 because, let's face it, if they don't win Game 3, this series is obviously over. What about Jason Kidd? Are there specific adjustments that you think he needs to make for this game?
Well, it's a few of them. One, I hope over the last couple of days he's been holding Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic accountable defensively because they've been traffic cones out there. And we knew coming into the series that the Celtics game plan offensively, they were going to involve Luka in multiple actions and they were going to pick on him. He has to do a better job. Again, I told you earlier in the segment when we talked about, the Dallas Mavericks and their offense, J. Kidd, again, you have to do better with your rotations. You have to do better with putting guys in position to be successful. Put guys in the game that's going to knock down shots. You need Hardy. You need Tim Hardaway Jr. They're definitely going to bring something more than what Maxi Kleber is bringing to the damn game right now.
Traffic cones. I love it. Love it. Thanks as always, Perk. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Tony.
ESPN's coverage of Game 3 starts with NBA Countdown tonight at 7:30 Eastern. We're going to take one last break, but still to come, a big night in New England for Tom Brady. And Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz will be teaming up at the Olympics. That ought to be gold as far as I'm concerned. That ought to be gold, certainly if they played on clay. I hope we bring Wilbon back to the show. It's tough to do it without him. I love him, as everybody knows. Happy time, people. Happy 34th birthday, Drew Holiday. Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis are the most significant additions to the Boston Celtics this season. Holiday came to the team from Portland in a trade from Malcolm Brogdon last October. Holiday is a valued point guard who won a title with Milwaukee in 2021. He was drafted 17th overall by Philadelphia out of UCLA in 2009. Holiday spent 4 years in Philadelphia, went to New Orleans for 7 seasons before going to Milwaukee for 3 seasons. Milwaukee traded Holiday to Portland for Damian Lillard, but Holiday never played there. Holiday is a 2-time All-Star, a 6-time All-Defensive Player, and a career 16.1 points per game scorer.
Tony, how about if he leads 2 teams as the lead guard to championships? How about that? 2 different teams. That sort of reminds me, I know they're different stylistically, of Dennis Johnson. The great Dennis Johnson, who wins in Seattle, comes over and wins with the Celtics as well. Drew Holiday, undervalued, but if you're wearing the rings, doesn't really matter.
Happy anniversary, Alexander Ovechkin. On this day 16 years ago, the Great 8 won the Maurice Richard, the Hart, the Art Ross, and the Lester B. Pearson trophies, becoming the first player in NHL history to win all 4 in the same year. The Richard was for most goals, the Hart for MVP, the Ross for overall points, and the Pearson for most outstanding player, as voted by the NHLPA and now renamed for Ted Lindsay. Ovechkin has played his entire career for the Washington Capitals and is now just 41 goals away from catching Wayne Gretzky. Ovechkin signed the NHL's first $100 million contract in 2008, getting $124 million for 13 years, which now seems the greatest team-friendly contract ever.
Yeah, that'd be like the 8th guy in the NBA. Tony, you think Ovechkin will get it? You think he'll get the 41? Or will this be like Barry Sanders falling just short and saying, okay, I could, but I'm walking away? What do you think's going to happen?
I think he'll get it. I do. Happy trails, JT Realmuto. The Phillies star catcher is expected to miss about a month after knee surgery. Realmuto had spent only 11 days on the injured list after joining the Phillies in 2019. Since then, Realmuto has caught the most innings in baseball and thrown out the most base stealers. So how do the Phillies cope? Well, Mr. June, Kyle Schwarber, hit 2 home runs last night and now averages 1 homer per every 10.4 at-bats in June. That's better than Babe Ruth. Speaking of homers, Aaron Judge hit his Major League leading 25th last night, and the Dodgers got 4 home runs in the 6th inning against Texas from Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, and Jason Hayward. Oh, Wilbon, the big dumper had the game-winning hit for Seattle, a 2-run double.
You have this perverse love of Philly. You rooting for Philly and the Yankees or the Dodgers and the Yankees in October?
I think it's going to be the Dodgers, but those are the 3 best teams. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's go to the big finish if we could. Rafael Nadal will play Olympic doubles with Carlos Alcaraz for Spain. You got to like that.
It's nice, but I'm not going to the Olympics to watch doubles tennis. Sorry. And you know how much I played doubles tennis at some decent level. Tom Brady gets inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame tonight. What, is that a surprise?
It would only be a surprise if he wasn't unanimous. That would be a surprise.
That's right. That would be.
Jets head coach Robert Saleh says he and the absent Aaron Rodgers are on the exact same page. Do you believe that?
Okay, this is not some insider HBO show. I don't want to hear about the Jets until Labor Day. We did that last year, not here. Top-ranked India beat the U.S. today at the T20 Cricket World Cup. Your reaction, sir?
My reaction is I don't care about that. We beat Pakistan. Nobody thought we could be on the same field with them. We beat Pakistan. Last one. Men's soccer friendly tonight. USA and Brazil in Orlando. Who you got?
The U.S. got starched by Colombia Saturday, in need of a little bounce back, right? But I don't know. I ain't taking that against Brazil.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. Nice to see you back on the set, Pookie. Took that second off.
9 finals against Boston.
Stop for a 20-footer. It's good. Mr. Clark got it back.
When he averaged nearly 38 points a game. He won MVP honors, the only player to earn that distinction from a losing team.
Jerry West was absolutely fantastic. That was one of the greatest exhibitions I ever saw in my life.
The finals losses took their toll on West.
It was horrible. I really wanted to quit. I mean, I did not want to go on. It was just too painful for me. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to just go out and play again. And I think with my mentality and the way I felt about the game, it hurt too much.
West finally won his only NBA championship 3 years later, beating the New York Knicks in 5 games. After retiring in 1974, West coached the Lakers for 3 seasons and then became the general manager in 1982, just as the Showtime Lakers with Magic Johnson began to flourish.
And the most valuable player is Magic Johnson. And he leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship.
Jerry actually helped me when I first got to LA because he would always take me aside after every practice or every game and just point out the good plays and the bad plays. So this man had a wealth of knowledge, gave me that knowledge, and then I applied it on the court.
West won 3 titles as GM during the Showtime era, and in 1996, he revived the Lakers by trading for high school player Kobe Bryant and signing Shaquille O'Neal. The tandem would capture 3 straight NBA crowns.
He had, in a lot of ways, purged the roster to get a guy who had just played nothing but high school ball and to get a guy who a lot of people like to give a bad time about rap music and free throw shooting. He took a lot of grief for that.
Turned out to be the move of the decade.
After the Lakers won the title in 2000, West retired in the only way he knew how, quietly. West wrote a letter to Lakers fans, thanking them for his time there.
He's known as the best general manager ever, one of the best players ever. And, you know, a lot of people can't do that. So I'm just happy that he went out on a great note.
For the man who came from a small town in West Virginia, Jerry West achieved larger-than-life success, both as a player and as an executive. His life is one that left a huge impression on the game of basketball, forever immortalized by the NBA logo.
In a statement from Michael Jordan on Jerry West via Stephen A. Smith, quote, "I always wished I could have played against him as a competitor, but the more I came to know him, I wish I had been his teammate. I admired his basketball insights, and he and I shared many similarities to how we approached the game. He will forever be missed. R.I.P. Logo."
Devin, here's some other stories that we're following for you tonight. Panthers captain Alexander Barkov practiced today, is traveling to Edmonton for Game 3 tomorrow. He left late in Game 2 after a hit to the head. A decision on his status will come in Edmonton. Lionel Messi says that Inter Miami is going to be his last club, and there's not a lot of time left in his career. The 36-year-old superstar has scored 14 goals this season and is Barcelona's all-time leader with 672 goals. In the NFL, Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell says Sam Darnold will continue as the team's lead quarterback when training camp opens next month. He was brought in after Kirk Cousins left and, of course, before J.J. McCarthy was drafted.